Hi folks, very warm welcome to another Theben webinar and presentation of a product update. The content of today is Universal Dimmer DIMAX 545 plus P. What is new? I want to make you acquainted in the next heading, 15 to maximum 20 minutes. Yeah, what is new? So summarized, you discover here, that's definitively new. So time control dimming, astronomical controlled dimming, so that means depending on sunset, sunrise, and we name it nightlight limitations. This is what we have implemented, and you know, the DIMAX 545 and 544 is available as an app controlled solution. So that means you have your remote in your mobile. How cool is this? Huh? So, well, what is to be remembered or reminded? So I assume you know Theben is rather well known in the entire market. Nevertheless, if we talk about KNX market, if we talk about smart home solution market, or even for, let's say, universal dimmer, that we, or our dimmers, are doing a rather excellent job. And this, we implemented this knowledge, we implemented and updated in the DIMAX 454 plus P as well. Yeah, so we support you, your lights, which you intend to use. Nevertheless, if we talk about retrofit, if we talk about lights like that, or if we talk about lights like that, depends on the drivers, which these lights, different light types finally are offering to you. If they are able to be universal, be dimmed, we support you in best quality. And be reminded, this small fancy dimmer, the DIMAX, is supporting you with 250 watts of LED, which you can drive directly on this small fancy appliance. This is original size, this is original width of this powerful dimmer. 250 watts, it's a lot, I tell you. So, and this small fancy dimmer fits ideal in such a small fancy flush box. You see there is space enough for the wiring. You put just a simple cover on it and you have a discreet, nice dimmer solution for your private flat or for public industry or, for instance, municipalities, corridors in hotels, small hotels, however, when they aren't equipped with BMS systems. Yeah? Perfect solution. And what I wanted to tell to you, we care about security as well, because in our dimmers there are a kind of overload recognition implemented. So that means in the unlikely event when the temperature inside of the dimmer is, let's say, getting a critical position, critical temperature, so then the dimmer automatically starts to fade down to a limit of approximately 10 lux or so, 10 watts. And that, what does it mean? Finally, it, the electronic gets time to recover. If there is further on a critical temperature inside, so then the dimmer switches totally off. And after a reasonable recovery, or probably if the electrician discovered what the main problem finally is, so then the dimmer is getting his, let's say, former position. So you see, we care about security as well. In regards of the insulation, like mentioned, we do not need such much space because the dimmer is rather tiny and it fits ideal in such kind of insulation box behind the push button, like shown here. If you have the flush mounted box of 60 millimeters, easily you can put the push button surface directly on top and the dimmer is inside of the box and there is space enough for the wiring in total. So it makes easy for you to install. That's our aim, to support you most best. Yeah, there is a function inside which is, which we call it finally, so wake up function or snooze function. What does it mean? Finally, early morning when the bell is ringing, so probably you like it or you dislike it, however. So we do have another option, finally, if you do have a dimmer in your bedroom. Now with the new function you can preset You have to get up early morning, 6:30, however, and then with a snooze function, softly the dimmer turns on, softly is fading in within a specific time frame to a specific light level. So it softly is waking you up, giving you a hello to the new day. Vice versa, if you use, for instance, such a dimmer in your corridor, probably you have children, and mostly, I think you know, the children, when they have to go to bed, they want to stop this. And but if they have to go to bed, then mostly the question arises, depends on the age of the children. So can you please leave the light on because I'm so anxious? However, I know you know that story. And with this, let's say, snooze function, you just do a double click on the push button, and then the snooze function starts, and softly within your predefined time frame, softly the dimmer dims down, and hopefully after that time, after some minutes, the children starts sleeping, hopefully. Could be a good solution, for instance, for such an application. Could be an application as well for hotel corridors or for whatnot. As well, you can, let's say, optionally set the dimmer to a comfortable staircase function. So that means you start from one of the different push buttons in this staircase. You start a timer, which is elapsing now. In general, preset for such a time frame that you can easily reach from your flat the exit door of your building, however, but probably on the way from your flat to the exit door, probably you meet your neighbor, you start chatting, however, and to avoid that you're out of the sun or standing in the darkness, and probably the risk to tumble down these stairs could be rather high. So then softly, with this softly fading out, you get reminded, hey, please, again, press it again. So you restart again this elapsing time, and the process starts again. So a kind of safetiness as well, and a kind of comfort, softly reminding you, please hurry up or press again. So functions which are rather interesting and efficient. And all these, if you like, you can operate by the app. I've prepared here a few slides with nice screenshots of the apps and so on. But I think you are eager to know how it works really. And due to that, I have prepared a specific scene, which I share now with you. So when the scene is like that, I do have here a board, a function board finally, and I do have here the app. And I open now the app. In this case, I have synchronized to this DIMAX, which is inbuilt here in this area here. So and I get exactly, let's say, the option, either I control it with a push button or either I control it here with the slider. So that's the way how it works. So if I press shortly, so then we do have here, for instance, a brightness which we start from. You can preset, and now you see how it works, dimming up, dimming down, or short press, so we switch off this light. You can operate from both sides. I do have here, or we do have here, these specific settings, which is brightness level, and for which purpose we need this minimum brightness. So it's rather simple, I want to remind, because probably you have discovered that some of these LED lights do have some troubles, especially in the, let's say, lower base, in the lower area of the dimming. So generally, so between 5 and 15 to 20%. So you don't have any stable, let's say, light. Nevertheless, if we talk about these GU10 or if these are the retrofits, it always is related to the ballast, to the electronic which is inside here in the socket or on a LED. And if you do have here such a situation that this light is not giving you a stable light, it's probably flickering, however, which is really ugly, And so then you can limitate finally the dimmer, the DIMAX, to a specific value, and we start the dimming from this preset value. In our case, in this case, for instance, we have preset here to 5% because I know this light which I'm using here for my demonstration is rather good, gives us a really good response, a good feedback finally. That's the reason why I set it here to 5%. But in the event of you do have such a light, you can easily limitate the dimming to 20%. So that means if I open now the light, it starts minimum with 20%. You see here definitively it's brighter than before. So that's the way how finally it works. And for which purpose we need this here? So this is a maximum brightness. So in this maximum brightness, finally, we need in some cases as well, when a light is probably not giving you a really stable light when you are in the 90–100% level or so. So then some of them are start flashing. And to avoid that, we can, let's say, limitate the maximum brightness as well. But I want to give you a hint. You discover here, I do have here a lux meter, which is telling you 1220 lux at 100%. So I limitate now to 90%, confirm it, and I switch it again. So that means now I go to 90%. You remember the value. So there is not that big difference in the brightness. Yeah. So I put it now to 80%, switch off and switch on. And watch on this. There is almost no difference between 80, depends on the light, between 80 and 100%. And what's finally the effect? So first of all, you save some energy, yeah, because depends on the light, depends on the driver and so on. You do not have these really rather essential gains between 80, 90 or 100%. Yeah. So to drive or yeah, to drive a LED light permanently on maximum 100%, you do not have any, let's say, light gains in that terms, because between 90 and 100% definitively, you just create a lot of warmth, but not any light, additional light. It can vary between manufacturer types and so on, but generally between 90 and 100% you do not discover any, let's say, additional light gains. So due to that, what is the effect? You save energy, and first of all, and second, finally, you can, with this, let's say, limitation, you can extend the lifespan, the life expectation of a light in general, because you don't operate permanently in overdrive. You got me? That's the way how it works, and for which purpose, finally, you can use such kind of application settings. So that's the reason why. So let's go to these, first of all, to the time frames. So the time frames, or the time limitation, or time-controlled limitation. So we take, for instance, this example. We do have here two options, either time-controlled or astronomical controlled. Let's get started with the time frame. Assuming we do have here, for instance, from Monday to Friday, we do want, for instance, on 70:37, because it's the current time now, and you want to have, for instance, just 30% of the lights. You want to do it time-based. So we go back to the dimming and we see what happens finally, and you see in the meantime the dimmer turns on the light to 30%. Yeah, time controlled. I haven't done anything, it's just based on this program which I have created here. Okay, if you want to modify, okay, anytime you click on here, no, 30% is too less, I want to have a few bit more. So then immediately you will get these, let's say, additional light from the controller. If you want to have a ramp, so that means you don't want to have this hard switch, you want to have, for instance, a kind of fading in. Okay, always welcome. Just set it in such a way and done. So this is, for instance, the switching on. You want to have a switching off. So for that purpose, again, I create here 70:38, like that. For my demonstration, it's rather fine. So and for this purpose, I want to off it. So put it off, okay. The ramp is giving you 10 seconds as a kind of pre-warning, and okay. And after a short while, this light here shall switch off again. So it takes a while. Yeah, so this is the option. I can add another function, okay? You discovered the light turns on, turns off automatically. Time-based dimming. So now I want to make you acquainted with this nice function, which is Astro function. So just as an example, you do have, for instance, probably a nice garden with a nice illumination, however, and you want to have these, let's say, nice illumination during the evening or during the nighttime. Probably you want to impress your neighbor, however. So and then you can use, for instance, the function of astronomical based control. So that means when the sun sets, so then, for instance, your garden is illuminated automatically. And you know, during the summer season, during the winter season, there is a difference of the sunsets and the sun rises. And exactly, you don't have to do anything, because the dimmer is smart enough to know where he is located, what is the current time of the sunset and of the sunrise, and he will give the reasonable control command, switching on to a specific level of the brightness accordingly. Smart. Sounds good. I want to make you acquainted with. So that means now, so I open here my presentation, I open here my, my app, and I take here, for instance, sunset. Yeah, so in our area, in our circumstance, we do have here sunset on 6:44 as an example. And in this case, I want to illuminate my yard, my garden, for instance, to 60%, and probably you want to have a ramp that you will have these soft fading in for the illumination. You click OK and done. So that means you can do it here either time-based or based on astronomical function. Okay? And next morning you want to have to off, okay? Monday is Tuesday, and I use the Astro function. I want to off it to 0%, so there is no need for a ramp. Okay, so and then I have implemented this switching off time accordingly. Yeah, here is sunrise, here is sunset, and depends on, we do have here the switching function. Rather simple and easy to adjust, isn't it? How cool is this, huh? Okay, so, but I told you how it comes. So I told you, so this dimmer is smart enough, clever enough to know where he is located. Okay, how he can know? Exactly through the app, through the mobile. The NTP time is shared with our dimmer, so he knows exactly what's the current time, what's the current date, but what is missing. He needs to know, so what is my location, where I am installed, where I am built in, finally. I want to show you some smart solution, which I have implemented here. For that purpose, we open again the app, and this setting you find in the settings on the right-hand side of the menu bar. And please look at that. So Astro location. So this is from the bottom, the second line. So, and you see this arrow, yeah, and I click now on this arrow, and this arrow opens OpenStreetMap. How cool is this? Well, what does it mean? So now, for instance, I can zoom this street map. For instance, I'm located in Paris, and I get immediately on top longitude, latitude of the reasonable area. And the DIMAX knows exactly so where he is finally located, and knows exactly sunset, sunrise. Every day he calculates new, so it's absolutely stable and reliable values, which is the base for this astronomical time control. Yeah, looks nice, huh? Let's open, when we have currently opened this, let's say, setting menu. So I want to make you acquainted with these, let's say, different dimming curves, which we have preset. You can choose which dimming curve you want. You have to use, most people get started with the automatic load detection, which is not by choice. But in some cases, depends on the LED light, depends on the driver. You need probably another strategy. And here we do have the LED the LED A curve or LED B curve, for instance, which you can choose. If the LEDs have some limited, let's say, dimming abilities, and here you can choose whatever you need. Or especially if you want, for instance, to drive a fan or a pump, for instance, you can do the setting accordingly if you want to drive a fan stepless. So this you do here in this setting finally. Okay, you got it. So now I turn to this function of staircase. So this you have to choose. For this purpose I open now the staircase settings. So that means if I press now this push button for these preset values of 5 minutes, so staircase light time, so the light will turn on now and we will turn on 100% because this is my preset value. And when we do get this warning finally, the slider or the dimmer dims down to this 50% level, for instance. We do have here the option finally that the time can be, let's say, switched off prematurely. So that means we do have any time the option finally to stop this process. Again, pretty simple, but rather powerful application of this DIMAX. Hopefully you could get some good insights. And at the end of this presentation I have a summary. And the summary is telling you adjustable staircase functions. Yeah, we can adjust the brightness, we can trigger it, re-trigger it, we can stop it, for instance. Yes, it's possible. We do have here options in regards of automatic load detection, different applications, different choices, which you do have finally. We have comfortable snooze functions. I made you acquainted with in this small exercise. Finally, either with the double clicking on the push button or even on a just touch on the app, no problem at all. You can adjust it. Finally, the different dimming curves. Then we do have here some scene functionalities which you can file. Different scenes you can adjust. However, the night brightness limitations, which I have shown up here, is possible. No problem at all. And there is as well an option to, let's say, protect your dimmer, probably when used or when installed in a public building with a password. So your private policy protection is respected as well. Time functions are given, Astro functions are given, and if you want to have any further, let's say, answers, you do have some queries, however, don't hesitate to contact us in German.